Welcome to GAC Podcast, where the seeds of knowledge are sown and the fields of agriculture and environmental sustainability are explored. I am your host, Phillips Josh, and together we embark on a journey to cultivate a deeper understanding of farming practices, green initiatives, and the sustainable future of our planet. Join us as we plow through insightful discussions, interviews, and practical tips. Let's harvest wisdom together on GAC Podcast. Welcome once more to episode 2, season 3 on GAC Podcast. We're going to talk about or continue from where we discussed last week on poultry waste management. And last week, yes, if you missed that, we talked about ways in which you can manage your poultry manure while your poultry birds are still using it. So while your poultry manure is still on the floor in your poultry pen, what are ways you can manage it? That was discussed on the last episode. Now, this episode, we're going to talk about the composition of poultry waste and environmental impact. It promises to be insightful and short, concise as possible. So let's head in for the episode. Poultry waste comprises or encompasses a variety of materials. Now, these materials include feathers, bedding materials, spilled feed, and many more. But the major component of poultry waste is the poultry manure, and this poultry manure comprises of a rich blend of nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and organic matter. No doubt, these nutrients are very essential for plant growth, but when it is improperly managed or stored, can actually lead to environmental concerns. Now, what are the basic environmental concerns or negative environmental impact that improper management of poultry waste can actually cause? We are going to be taking 3 basic ones on this episode. Number 1 of them is nutrient runoff. What does nutrient runoff mean, you might be asking yourself, because most times I know most people have not heard of this. Now, if you're hearing of it for the first time, you might think it's leaching. It is not leaching. Runoff refers to washing off, right? When you have something in excess and it's running over, it's flushing. When you're trying to flush something that is in a particular area. All right, and this happens in terms of heavy rainfall. Now, when manure or when a farmer knows very well that a plot is able to carry, or one bag of manure, poultry manure, is sufficient for his field, and he ends up applying 3 or 4 or 5 bags on that field simply because he has larger volume of that manure, that can actually lead or result in nutrient runoff. So nutrient runoff can be caused by excessive application of poultry manure on fields. All right, and this can in turn cause water pollution. Now, when you have, instead of applying 1 bag on your field, which you know is sufficient, you end up applying 4 bags. There are some places that you have it in excess. Now, once there is rainfall, the water will wash those excess nutrients that is being applied and deposit them in the nearest water body, and this can actually cause water pollution. It also causes nitrogen and phosphorus runoff, and in particular, it can contribute to eutrophication of water bodies, which can cause harmful algal bloom. So, and you know, poultry manure is used specifically to increase the algal bloom or to cause algae bloom in ponds, to increase the growth of natural food for fish. Now, if you now have them deposited in excess in smaller water bodies, that can cause harmful algal blooms. Even in larger water bodies, let's assume 10 farmers are working in the same area in a particular village or a town or a settlement, and there is a water body that supplies that village water, and these farmers end up causing nutrient runoff due to excessive application of poultry manure on their farm. Now, the question is, where do you think this runoff will go to? Or where do you think this excessive manure is going to be deposited? Obviously, it will be deposited in that water body, and it ends up polluting that water for those dwellers in that settlement. So, nutrient runoff is a very serious environmental impact that excessive application of poultry manure or lack of proper management of poultry manure can actually cause. So, talking about the next, which is air quality concerns, or I would call it air pollution. Now, poultry waste emits ammonia, hydrogen sulfide, and other gases that can affect the quality of air. Now, ammonia in particular can contribute to atmospheric pollution and have adverse effects on respiratory health. Now, if you have actually been under a battery cage system where you have your birds already occupying that battery cage, probably trying to push out manure if you are not using the flush out system, you will actually understand what I'm talking about here, because I've been in that situation where you have to be underneath the battery cage system trying to push out manure from underneath the pen, and most cases it will feel like you're passing out because of the excess emission of ammonia. And ammonia has a choky smell. All right, it has a choky smell. So if your respiratory system is not strong enough, it can cause breathing issues if the person finds himself in that situation. And excessive emission of this ammonia ends up polluting the atmosphere and causing pollution in the air, thereby causing effect on respiratory health of those affected. Lastly is pathogen transmission. Now, poultry waste can actually contain pathogens such as bacteria, viruses, and parasites. Now, when this poultry waste is improperly disposed or inadequately treated, it can lead to the spread of diseases, which poses risk to both the human and animal health. So, that is just the little we want to discuss on this episode, or want to talk about on this episode. Next week, we discuss the management strategies, followed by ways you can actually earn money from your poultry waste. So since this poultry waste is causing issues, how can you unlock that gold beneath the coop? Come next week and next 2 weeks, we are going to actually talk about efficient poultry waste disposal techniques as well as management strategies for poultry waste. All right. Thank you so much for listening. This is GAC Podcast, and yeah, let my AI do the rest. Take care, guys. Thank you so much, dedicated listener, for joining us on this journey through the fields of knowledge on GAC Podcast. Your commitment to learning about agriculture and environmental sustainability continues to inspire us. If you've enjoyed this episode, do not forget to show your support by hitting that like button, subscribing for more insightful content, and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. Together, let's sow the seeds of a sustainable future. Until next time, happy farming.